listening to the Ropes and Riffs podcast with your host, John Kiernan.
My friend, you, the other person on the other side of this camera or on the other side of this microphone. I'm so excited to have you listening or watching because my guest today is none other than Jaret from Bowling for Soup. From all the different work he's done with Bowling for Soup, Girl All the Bad Guys Want, 1985, and all those awesome hits, and even some of the country music that he's written recently. We're going to be talking all about the different projects he's done, actually his background in wrestling too. Did you know that he is an honorary Von Erich? And how did that happen? We're going to go ahead and talk about that. And if you're here and you're a wrestling fan, you already know about the song Alexa Bliss that he made for Alexa Bliss. And the way that that came to be is a really awesome story. Jaret's one of the coolest people I've gotten the opportunity to interview on here, and I'm excited for you guys to listen to our conversation. As always, check out Ropes and Riffs podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or any place that you can listen to podcasts. Go ahead and leave a comment, rate, like, and subscribe to the show wherever you check out podcasts, and leave us a comment. And if you leave a comment, I'll go ahead and shout you out on our socials and on the podcast here. Also, if you donate $10 or more to the show via PayPal at Ropes and Riffs, that's ROPES, the letter NRIFFS, we'll go ahead and do a shout out for you here on the show. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with the one and only Jaret from Bowling for Soup. This man, whether he knows it or not, has been in my life for so many years through his music with Bowling for Soup, and many of yours also. And while we're recording this stream, you're celebrating two big milestones for Bowling for Soup. So I want to just thank you for making the time to chat with little old me and our listeners on the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
From what I've seen today showing up on the interwebs, you guys just hit 1 billion, I think it's 1 billion streams?
Yeah, we hit 1 billion streams. In fact, it's I guess since the news came out, it's like 1.1 or so. I don't know. It's incredible. And it's definitely, it's just one of those things where I don't know. I mean, I posted about it yesterday and I was like, I need to get my head around it before I even really say anything. Cause I mean, what do you ever do that's 1 billion? I mean, it's wild. It's crazy.
Back in 2002, when you put out Drunk Enough to Dance, which as the day we're recording this is also celebrating its anniversary too. When you're in that record and you release everything afterwards, are you thinking, hey, it'd be real great if we got to 1 billion listens just generally on any of our music?
I mean, you got to remember that was, let's see. Well, we started in 94. And so, that's what, 8 years in. And so everything was just sort of happening, as it should. Everything was just, we were just climbing this little ladder and up, and sort of, I guess, more of a roller coaster, really, sort of on the way up, and then everything sort of ebbs and flows. But there's no really, for us, we're really lucky. We've never really had the really big downhill. But no, I mean, we were really just taking it in stride at that time, But I definitely wouldn't have thought at the time streaming didn't exist, so. Like I would have never thought that we would have sold 1 billion albums, or I never would have thought 1 billion people or our music would be played 1 billion times. I certainly wouldn't have thought our songs wouldn't have been played in space. It's one of those things where we were just kids with wild aspirations of being able to play music for a living. And here we are, 23 years later, just of Drunk Enough to Dance. But we had 4 albums before that and 8 years we did 9 years in the van before we ever got on a bus. So it's quite a journey. It's been quite a journey, still quite a journey.
And I talk to people about this all the time because when especially musicians release music, a lot of the times I don't think we think about where our music is going to go, how much of a legacy it can have. Sometimes you have music that you release and it flies off, right? And it does all the things that it does. Sometimes you have music that sits in the can a little bit longer. And, as you grow and as your music grows and as your music takes on different life, people come back to those things. And so you never know where your music's going to take you. On my side with the wrestlers, with writing wrestling entrance themes, you never know where a wrestler is going to go. They could be doing the indies and then next week they could be in AEW AEW, WWE, something like that. For you, you can literally say you've had a billion people listening or a billion streams of your song. And like you said, your song has been in space.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, our song Ohio, Come Back to Texas woke the astronauts up one time, and it was the day that they were coming home. And so, yeah, we had a song played in space, which is just, all of these things are wild. And yeah, that's just it. I guess for me, it's always just been, I want as many people to listen to this as possible, and I want people to enjoy it. I want to make people's day better. It's really just been sort of later in life, I guess, where it's been like, oh, this is the legacy that I'm leaving behind. This is how I have life after I'm not on the planet anymore. This is how this is how I'm going to be remembered, hopefully, as this guy who put out some pretty good songs. And I'm proud of that. But yeah, you're so right. I mean, that's the, you sort of stumbled upon something that you might not have meant to, but that's sort of the whole, that I don't guess issue. It's the whole question about doing albums these days. Drunk Enough to Dance came out 23 years ago, and it's so seen by fans as this collection of songs, this collection of songs that got them through this part, a lot of them, some sort of area of their life when they were younger. And it's just not like that anymore. We can put out a record and really it's people don't listen to the whole thing. And that's the whole thing with putting out music these days is, do you put it out as a collection anymore? Do you put them out one at a time? Because the whole idea is to get it heard. And there's songs from our last few records where we can put a song on a video or whatever, and people will be like, man, new music. And it's like, oh, that song's been out 5 years. And so there's certainly a dilemma now as to how you release it. Because, as you say, at the end of the day, you don't know whether it's going to be heard by 10 people or a million people or whatever. But the idea is for people to listen to it. And so, yeah, I don't even remember what the original question was. I sort of got off on a tangent.
No, but you bring up a really good point too, because you talk about albums versus singles now too. When people, I think, look into what they should be doing in music in their careers too, they go, should I be releasing an album? Should I be releasing singles? And there's strategies behind releasing all of them. You know that, obviously. And, you guys have just continued to champion putting out great music, and great music is going to live no matter what. When you think about albums now, I think a lot of people put it in perspective of like as an extreme example, think of like a Coheed and Cambria, where they have like full concept records. Like it would be very difficult for them to put out a single unless, as they do, it's like, okay, it's either a lead up for a record or it's Jesse's Girl 2, something like that, where it's kind of like a one-off that's kind of on the side. But like,
Right.
I think people nowadays think about, all right, if we're going to put all of this time, effort, and resources into promoting something, and you're in this culture now, which is very different, obviously, like you're talking about, of being able to focus on one thing for maybe a short period of time, people put the effort into the single, unless they're like, hey, we have this giant package that we're going to go ahead and run on. And this is going to be like, you can't listen to one song and understand it unless you listen to like 2 or 3 or 4 or the whole record. Like the dynamic of that is completely changed. But for you guys, you can also say, because your music has been played in space, that your music is out of this world now. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to have said that, and I'm sure I'm not the last person.
You're so right, though. But I mean, that's such a select fan base. It's for like a Coheed and Cambria or a Ghost, or that's not every man. And maybe that's the thing, right? Is that we're not really making music for I really don't know the answer. That's the thing. I mean, we're about to make a record again, and I honestly thought after the last album I didn't know if we'd ever do it again because of that. It's like, man, we go in there and we do 12, 15 songs. I mean, back in the day we did 18 to 20 songs, and man, you want everybody to hear them. But I think we're sort of settling into that whole like, all right, well, we'll do 3 or 4 singles and then put the record out, or we'll do whatever it ends up being. At the end of the day, I'm super proud of Drunk Enough to Dance as a collection of songs, and I love that what I've read of people sharing about it today. and it hasn't been much because I just woke up actually. But what I've read is just people talking about it as this collection of songs and stuff, and that makes me feel good. But I, as you said, man, I think we just live in a different world, and I don't. It's I think it's very cool that we can go and record a cover song and release it on Friday. I think that's just what a cool thing that we can do. Whereas back in the day, you would just to be able to do that was, I mean, again, it just is mind blowing how many steps that took. And now, literally, I could make a song in here today in the next couple of hours, and I could have it out by tomorrow, and be in everybody's ears. It's I'll take the trade. I like where we're at these days.
And you're talking about singles, you're talking about releasing music, and one person that you've worked with before was WWE's own Alexa Bliss. And again, as of the time of this recording, SummerSlam 2025 has passed. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss have regained, or not regained because they never worked together before, but they have gained the women's tag team championships. And I remember when you guys put out that song too, for me, I was kind of like, okay, cool, it's just a title. And then you watch the video and Alexa Bliss is in there and it's all over and it's all about her. And I'm just like, dude, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
this is what it's about. And I was just, I was obviously a fan of you guys before time, but when that came out, I was like, that's awesome. Sidebar, I used to also be endorsed with Ernie Ball Music Man. I've since moved to Balaguer Guitars. And with the guitars that you use, and when I had seen you play live with the Axis hollow body that you have, I was like, man, that's the guitar I need, because I was playing in different kinds of bands at the time. So I was just like, that's it. Mine doesn't have the graphics yours does. Mine has the Petrucci cherry swirl thing that they did, the sparkly thing.
Yeah.
But I had
Yeah.
seen that guitar and I was like, man. So you've probably talked about it many times over the years. In fact, I know you have. But tell us a little bit about how you got started working with Alexa Bliss and the creation of that song.
Yeah, I mean, first, it really wasn't. It wasn't to be a collaboration. I mean, it's a really cool story. I mean, my son, who's 19 now, I believe was around 12, and he got into wrestling just all of a sudden. It was just, I guess, some friends from school or some kid he met in the neighborhood, and he got into it pretty hardcore. And so the first one I ever took him to, it was kind of a surprise to me, and I just got some tickets, and we went, and we were up in the nosebleeds of American Airlines here in Dallas, and we're having fun. I have video of him trying to do the woo and get the whole crowd to do it, and the Ric Flair thing, which again is so crazy because I'm a Von Erichs guy. So when I was a kid, Ric Flair was like the most hated person in the world. I especially couldn't stand that guy. And I love how loved he is now. It's very reminiscent of Ozzy Osbourne. Hated in the '80s and absolutely loved by everyone now.
Oh, yeah.
But and we should say at the time of this stream recording, Ozzy did pass away last week, and so rest in peace to the Dark Prince. But
Absolutely.
yeah, we sat there, and all of a sudden, this walk-up music starts, and this little blonde firecracker comes out, and I see her name, and I go, oh, okay. I go, I think that girl's a fan of my band. And Jack goes, my son Jack goes, no way. And I go, yeah, I saw a thing. Somebody sent me a thing where this wrestler was a big fan of Bowling for Soup, and she did a photo shoot in a Bowling for Soup shirt. And he's
That's
like,
cool. Okay.
there's no, there he goes, there's no way. And so I found it in my phone, and I showed him, and it was her. I just, Alexa Bliss had just sort of rang into my head. And so I showed it to him, and he goes, Dad, that's crazy. He goes, you got send her a message. And so I sent her a message, and I was just like, I go, should I? Yeah, do it. So I sent her a message, and I just go, hey, that was awesome. I got my son here or whatever. It was really cool to see you wrestle. I saw the pictures of you in the Bowling for Soup shirt. That's so cool. Anyway, she answered like right back after her match, and was just like, are you coming backstage? Or I'm like, no, I'm in the nosebleed section. This is crazy. I can't even believe he answered back. And so, yeah, we just messaged back and forth. She told me that I was the last concert she saw before she left Columbus to go to WWE training, and just some cool stories about listening to my band. and I sent her some merch, and she took some pictures and put them on the internet and stuff. And but we had just just messaged back and forth a few times, and then she offered to my family tickets to the Royal Rumble that year in Philadelphia, or maybe it was the next year, whatever. I took my family to the Royal Rumble. She got us backstage. The kids met everybody. It was just really, really cool. And so, during that time though, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, this is so crazy that like all of these songs are sort of that they walk out to are all of a similar sort of feeling, and that's by design, obviously. You're the one of the ones that writes them. It's to get people pumped up and to get them in the mood or whatever. But it was at the time, I would have I didn't know that, because some of them come out to like Power Man 5000 or whatever, and it, what I would call like cock rock. And so I'm trying not to offend you, John. That's what I'm doing here. I'm trying not.
You're not going to say anything that offends me. And, just real quick before you keep going on that, the fact that you're sitting there in the stands and you're just like, dude, that girl likes my band.
Yeah.
And just again, going back to like, where does the music go? You're just like, I'm watching this girl. Like I'm here to see them, and that's crazy.
I know. Yeah. That's one of those things that never gets old. I know back when we first had, I think Girl the Bad Guys first have a hit, there was a lady golfer who was talking about the music that she liked, and her favorite band was Bowling for Soup. And my ex-mother-in-law read that in a golf magazine, and it was like, oh, okay, well, now there's some accreditation to what it is that you do, now.
Right.
Oh, now it's cool, right? But anyway, so we just became friends, but my thing was, I was just like, this is this pop punk girl, like, wouldn't it be cool if she had her own song that like why isn't her walkout song representative of whatever it is? So my not necessarily, it wasn't my idea to be her walkout music. My idea was to make a song that could be, that. So thus, whenever it was written, my buddy Linus and I wrote the song, and it starts out with more of we kind of put that into the song so that it sort of does hint back to that, but then just become this total pop punk, blissful song. And so I sent that song to her for her birthday that year, and she actually
imagine her too. Imagine her being just like, "What's this?"
Right. It's weird being on that side of it too, right? Where like I'm like, she even cares what it is, But she listened to it with her mom and Larry Steve, her pig that passed away, and literally sent me a video of her in tears. She couldn't believe it. So you fast forward to like, I'm like, well, we're gonna make this video. I'm just gonna get a lookalike, and do that, whatever. But then I thought, I mean, it would be cool if we could just have you make an appearance. Like if we just get one cameo from you, just seeing this girl be a lookalike or something. And she was like, no, I want to be in the video. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't even know how that works. And so we sort of start down that path, and it became like a deal where she went into Jim McMahon, or what's his name? Jim McMahon?
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. Jim McMahon was the quarterback of the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
Went into Vince McMahon's office and played him the song. And he was like, you know what? They're right. Why can't every girl be more like Alexa Bliss? And he was like, I like it. And, sent us paperwork, and we not only got her in the video, but she got to be the character Alexa Bliss and wear her kit and the full thing. And so it just became a great experience. And then, you fast forward even from that, she ends up meeting my friend Ryan Cabrera, and their first text conversation is about me. And he still says, thank you very much for our relationship. And now they're parents, and, it's just been a really cool story. And, that they're very good friends. And, I love seeing them grow as a family, and just their lives, really, really blossoming right now. And it's just been a really cool experience altogether.
And shout out to Ryan Cabrera too, because On the Way Down basically raised me in the same way as your albums did.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna put that out there right now. And it's so cool.
He's got the second best hair in music, right? If I say so myself, right?
So now at one point we'll have to have you both on the show and a hair off. That's gonna be it. And for one of the questions I ask later, remember one of the questions I ask later, because we might have to come back to that rage in a cage, if you will, about the hair. So that's so cool though. And I love the fact that it took that shape too. It's, hey, I'm in the arena with my son who loves wrestling. Oh my God, she knows my band. I'll drop her a message. And then all of a sudden it blossoms into all this stuff. And,
I'm sorry, I should have said this. Again, I dropped the message because he tells me to. and he's in the Alexa Bliss video, and it's filmed in his bedroom. And
Oh my
so,
God.
just the whole thing is full circle. That the Alexa Bliss cutout that's in the video for the song is still in his. Oh, he's 19 and off at college now, but that's still sits in his bedroom here at the house.
But that's a story too. Like, even if he had that over at college, he's like, listen, I'm the guy with the girl who did the thing. Oh, that's
Right.
so
Yeah,
cool.
totally. Yeah. That's the whole thing. But yeah, it's, and again, I'd known Ryan Cabrera since he was a kid. His band Rubik's Groove used to open up for Bowling for Soup all the time
Oh, wow.
back when we were kids. And so, like I said, as you said, one of those it just kind of things keep happening. And for her birthday a couple of years ago, he got her an exact replica of my Texas guitar. And so
That's cool.
I helped him get that. We got the exact guitar from Ernie Ball. We got the graphics done, had some of my team help with that, and got it wrapped. And so she owns an actual replica of her favorite guitar in the world, which is my Texas guitar.
So there's only two of them, is what you're saying. One belongs to Alexa Bliss and one belongs to you. That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Now, there are other people that have made them along the way, but there are two that are exactly like mine, and one is my house and one is in theirs.
That's so cool. And I will say the people at Ernie Ball, like, I don't know if it's Ernie Ball. Did Ernie Ball do the rapping for it, or was it someone else who did it?
No, so the story behind, my guitar, you mean?
Yeah.
Or hers? Yeah, my guitar, okay, this gets into the riffs section of our interview.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we had just done our first tour of the plant, and we had just gotten endorsed and started using their strings. This is probably 2002. Yeah, they asked me just, hey, would you want to try out one of our guitars? And I was playing Fender up until then. And I said, sure, that'd be great. Send me one. Well, they sent me that guitar. However, it was wood grain, like they're like just sort of beigey wood grain guitar. And I'm like, man, I just said to him, I said, I love this guitar and I would totally play it, but I'm not going to play a wood grain guitar. Like, I'm in this pop punk band at the time. I don't even know if it was pop punk yet, but I'm in this pop punk band and there's no way I can do that. I said, it's got to have some pizzazz to it. Right. And so they were like, well, just do whatever you want with it. Just leave the headstock. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, I was at a Hobby Lobby one day with my wife. She was getting some stuff, and I just started grabbing Texas stickers, and then I was like, I'm just gonna do the whole guitar in Texas stickers. So I went to this other store that's a Texas souvenir store in one of the outlet malls here, and I just got a bunch more, and I literally just took the strings off and sat there and just started positioning them all over the guitar. And honestly, at that time, I never would have, as you said earlier, it's like one of those things, you do this thing and you never really know what's going to happen with this, and I certainly didn't think I was making like this iconic pop punk, symbol. I didn't really realize what it was I was doing. And at first I was like, man, does this look too country? And I started using that guitar and it became just this force of its own, to where it's, like I wouldn't bring it out at the first of some shows. And then whenever I would switch to that guitar, people would go crazy and just, it sort of became my, Green Day's BJ guitar, and there's a few other bands, I guess, that have those iconic guitars, but it's not, it's not really in our world. I mean, I'm thinking mine and BJ's, right? I mean, I don't know anybody else really that has one. I mean, Tom DeLonge has several that people love, but there's not just one guitar that he gets and people go, oh shit, there it is.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the shape in general, like he has the Fender with the Invaders like that. I think the Seafoam green one, but again, it's not a guitar that you don't associate with other people. You've seen
Right.
that guitar everywhere else. This one has the signature basically of what you did to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, it's just stickers. And so I always like to say it's sort of the Planet Hollywood effect. It's like when you have never seen a Star Wars gun up close, and then you go to Planet Hollywood and you see it up close, and you're like, I mean, that's it, and you're just like, he can't believe like that. It just looks like some spray paint on a tin can, but on camera it looks so good. And that's kind of what my guitar looks like up close because it's very weathered and all of that. But that's what gives it personality. But I finally took it off the road during COVID because I had gone up, when the pandemic first started and we were all like, oh shit, it's gonna be the purge, and I never asked you if I could cuss on here. You're gonna have to bleep
Yeah,
me
you're
out
fine.
or
You're
okay,
fine.
Okay. So I went up and got my guitars, and it was mainly to get that one. But the guitar that I wrote, actually, so this is a twofold story. The guitar that's in the Bitch Song video that I had written, all the songs up until, Girl the Bad Guys Want, that got us where we were. And then the guitar that guitar got stolen out of our van while we were at a music store here locally. And then the guitar that I wrote all the hits on, the Taylor acoustic, got stolen in Boston, in like 2009 or 10. And so I was just like, I don't know that and that one kind of broke my heart a little bit, because Almost and High School Never Ends and just all the hits were written on that guitar. And so I was just like, I'm going to take this guitar off the road before it's too late. Because honestly, it's not worth anything to anybody else. It's not that it's
Sentimentally.
valuable, because what would you do with it? People, I mean, it's recognizable. So they would strip it down and then it would be worthless, right? I mean, and so there's a sentimental aspect to it. So I was just like, I'm just going to take it off the road. And so I did. So I have a new Texas guitar now, but that one sits comfortably here in my home, and is a nice conversation piece for when people come over.
And people know it too. Just in general, like you said, people have identified you with that guitar. And it's like you said,
Yeah,
it's not something you went into it saying, hey, I'm going to make an iconic guitar. It's just something that you did. And it's just something that meant something to you. Like all the guitars I have here in my studio, the ones I perform with, I throw a sticker down at the bottom. And, if there's a wrestler that I've worked with that has it, great. There's two that have stickers from places that resonate with my wife and I, one for Key West and one for Cape May, because I grew up in Key West. And then Cape May is a place that we love up here in Jersey. And it's like, you do things that just mean a lot to you as an artist, as a person. And all of a sudden, as you continue to do things, they take on lives of their own. And it's crazy how identifiable these things become just because you are you and you're seen with it so many times. And they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. There must be this crazy thought behind it. You're like, I mean, I just got these stickers and I put them on
right.
and they look great and you love it. So,
Yeah, that's just it, right? People are like, man, that paint job is so cool. I'm like,
yeah.
I hate to tell you this, bro. It's stickers and they're fading, But yeah, as you said, sometimes it's those organic things, I think, that really tend to grab hold of people. It's the stuff that you don't really mean to do. It's like, and that's life these days, right? It's like, all of my biggest videos on social media are videos that I just did, just sitting there, just thought of something and did it real quick. And then, the ones that I spend all this time and try to craft them, and I'm like, oh, this is the one, and they do nothing. And so there's something to, spontaneity and the organic aspect of things.
And speaking about a little bit of organicness here too, before we jumped on stream, you were saying that earlier in life you had a little, and you brought the Von Erichs, so obviously it's a deep cut that very much resonates with us here on the wrestling side. You said you had a little bit of wrestling history early on in your life too.
Yeah, if you actually Google me, Von Erich is one of my aliases, and I actually used the Von Erich name, I believe, till 2000 and maybe it was Drunk Enough to Dance when I stopped using it. I don't know. I might have still been doing it, but anyway, it's definitely into the 2000s. I was a Von Erich, and I was actually made by Kevin, an official Von Erich, because we started the band in Wichita Falls, but moved to Denton, Texas, and his daughter was in college at the time and used to come see us, told her dad, like, hey, this kid's using the Von Erich name or whatever, and, played him some of the music and stuff. And then, yeah, and then, one day on Twitter, he was just like, well, you're an honorary Von Erich, and I was just like, man, that's just, I mean, that's the coolest thing ever. But yeah, to me, the Von Erichs were kind of my first rock stars. I was just so into Kerry and Kevin Von Erich especially, but I got to see all four of them wrestle. I never got to see Chris wrestle, but I got to see Mike, David, Kerry, and Kevin all wrestle and several times. And, I just was absolutely again, I was almost obsessed with the Von Erichs and stuff, which is another great wrestling story, actually, I should say. But when I first started talking with Alexa Bliss about, I can't remember what it was, but maybe I was just talking to her about wrestling, and she was like, well, Michael Hayes from the Freebirds is like high up in the organization. I'm like, I didn't
Yeah,
know that. And
Fabulous
she goes,
Freebirds,
oh
yeah.
yeah. She goes, I talk to him all the time. And so while she was here doing the video, we were filming in my son's room, which is that way, and she was doing hair and makeup in my daughter's room, which is that way. And she called me in there, and she was on FaceTime with Michael Hayes. And so I was just like, dude, and she handed me the phone, and I was like, man, I could sing you Backstreet Atlanta GA right now, dude. Like I could sing you that song. The further down the block they got the better. And he was just like, oh man, I don't even know the words of that song anymore. And he was just really nice. And I heard, as I walked away, I heard him say, oh, he's a nice guy. Does he have a bra on his head? And sure enough, I did, because in the Alexa Bliss video, we're spoofing Weird Science, and I still had a bra on my head from
That's when you
doing
turn to him and you say, listen, I'm an honorary Von Erich. You watch who you're talking to.
that. Right? He was just so nice, and so that was a really cool experience. And so it's really fun. That I always say the best part about this, about what I do, is the camaraderie. And most of the time, I mean the bands that I tour with, my own band, my own crew, but it's also the people that you meet through being in this world and stuff. And then what that leads to sometimes. I mean, if you would have told little kid me, who just absolutely despised the Freebirds so much, that one day I would be talking to Michael Hayes on FaceTime, I would have been like, what's FaceTime? But then I would have been like, there's no way that's ever going to happen. So yeah. And then fast, I did another interview recently with a dude that knows Buddy Roberts' son. And I was just like,
Wow,
God,
okay.
what is happening with the world? But pretty wild.
And it's also, too, again, through your music, too. Your music is leading you into all these different paths, too. And it's just like, again, you go to a show, you meet Alexa Bliss, you're doing all this, and then all of a sudden she's like, hey, you want to FaceTime Michael Hayes? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see how so many of those things intersect and how one thing can lead to another. Again, I think the overarching thing of this whole interview is just you never know where you're going to end up. You never know what's going to happen. Even for me, being a fan of you guys for years, being able to say, okay, cool. In 2019, I have a wrestling podcast. We're trying to think of ways to, grow the show. Someone's like, you should write entrance themes because you're a musician. I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that. Start talking to people. Been doing entrance themes now for 4 years. Say, hey, it'd be cool to have a podcast to talk to musicians and wrestlers because that's my life. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting here with you today being able to talk shop about music and wrestling, which is bananas. Little 15-year-old me is not thinking of that. Well, I'm 36 now. Little 15-year-old me at the time, but
it's a great lesson, though, that you should treat every relationship with delicacy and with normalcy, and with just be yourself and be cool to people and be nice and put yourself out there. And I guess there's lots of lessons to learn here, but I tell my kids all the time, it's just like, you just never know what meeting somebody is gonna, what that's gonna be, and whether it's bad or good. You never know what that's gonna end up being down the road. And so try and be a gracious human being as you go, and put a smile on people's faces, and that will come back to you, and it certainly does for me.
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, too, you take up so many different places in the music industry. You're obviously with Bowling for Soup. You are writing lots of different country music out there, too, under your name. And then also, one of my favorite things that you've done within the last couple of years, because I love the band, the Punk Rock Factory stuff, you did Let It Go. For me,
Yeah.
I'm a friend with Fred who's done some solos for them on their records. And I loved hearing them the first time. I can't even remember what the first song, I think probably their cover of Down Under was the first song that I had heard. And then, you get into everything afterwards. And then all of a sudden you show up on Let It Go. And I'm sitting there just like, dude, again, just another banger. And I'm just like, obviously he's working with them and they're working with him, because why would they not be?
Man, I found that band during the pandemic, and I was like, this is going to be huge. I mean, I wouldn't say I found them. I mean, I became aware of them.
Yeah.
And I just started following them, and then I reached out, and I said some, I said some nice things, but I'm just so happy for them. It's gone so great. Now they're touring all over the place and doing great numbers, and people just love it. And yeah, we're playing together at Wembley Arena here in December 13th, and we've got another little surprise release coming out soon. And so, absolutely. Yeah, I just think that those guys found what it is they do, and they figured out, if we just stay the course, it's going to work, and it certainly has. And they just keep figuring out different ways to expand it. And I'm just, it's brilliant. Really is.
And with them, the way that they cover songs and the way that they write songs, it's like there's a lot of us who have done covers of, popular songs or Disney songs and whatnot. And it's really cool. But the way that they've been able to do it, it's got kind of like that melodic hardcore technical thing to it. And then
Mm.
it's obvious like very punk. And I'm just like, man, those are two things that will always tug at my heartstrings. And with Let It Go, that was the first one that they put out from that record with you. I
Yeah.
think that was like the first single. When they put out that record, were they like, hey, here's a list of songs that we're doing, do you want to choose from them? Or were they like, hey, we think you'd be awesome on Let It Go, and you kind of worked with what they gave you?
Yeah, I kind of can't remember. I mean, I think if they would have let me choose, that's probably what I would have picked. But I can't quite remember how but I know that it happened, in a way where we were both like, oh, this just makes all the sense. I mean, I know also, I mean, I have a young son who's 12. And so that was long enough ago to where I had just watched that movie for 2 straight years. I was very, very familiar with it. Well, every kid was watching it, so.
Yes.
But I remember hearing that song in the theater when we went and saw the movie and just going, holy crap, they've done it again. Like, this is going to be like Aladdin. Like, they're going to have a song on the radio. This is going to happen. And sure enough, I mean, it didn't take a genius to be able to say that, but I just remember hearing that song and being like, that song is a smash hit. And it certainly was. But yeah, when they asked me about it, I was just like, I would love to do that song. And yeah, it came out really, really good. And that was definitely one of those ones where I really like putting that kind of stuff out because it shows a little bit different side of my range that, like, it doesn't really make sense for me to sing that kind of stuff in Bowling for Soup unless I'm joking around. And so when I get to release something like that, it's fun to hear people go, oh, the pop punk guy's got some pipes, and that always makes me feel good.
I will say too, I was listening to that song and I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. And as you're on the train of Let It Go featuring you, you're like, what's going to happen with that one note? And we all know the note. We all know the note
Yeah.
at the end. We're like, what are we doing? Where's it going?
Yeah.
Where's it going? And it comes and you're just like, yes. I was like, Jaret nailed the note. Okay, great.
Yeah. 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 I was very, very happy that they left that in because they had, production wise, they sort of bounced between me and PJ and singing wise. And so I was like, gosh, I hope they let me have that part. And I was very glad that they left it in for sure.
So awesome. So I got 2 more questions for you before we go. And these are questions that I ask everybody who comes on the stream, musicians, wrestlers, everybody. The first one is a wrestling centric question. So if you had to book a wrestling card with 3 matches that involved musicians putting on the boots and wrestling in the ring, what would those 3 matches be? And what would the matches be? What kind of matches would they be?
So these are musicians that are going to wrestle one another.
That is correct.
Man, the first thing that comes to mind is 4 Year Strong because those guys all look like lumberjacks and they look like they could all kick some ass. So I would put 4 Year Strong. So I guess there's 4 of them up against, let's see, who would I put them up against? Who's another band? Up against Guar. And it would be a 4-man tag team is what it would be. And I think that would be a very, very good match. And there'd be some
can get with
creative
that.
cheating and a lot of blood. In my mind, 4 Year Strong would come out on top.
I was gonna say Guar would be using a lot of weapons, but 4 Years Strong, they'd put it up.
Yeah. They are, and they are not small dudes. They are like, they all look like, they're all like ripped.
Oh yeah.
Then let's see, what else would we do? Let's say we put, you know what? I'm not gonna be sexist. You got to have a girls match, right? Because
Yeah.
females are like just as popular now as I guess, right? I mean, it's like a big deal because it's,
I would say so.
when I was a kid, the Von Erichs and then Chris Adams and Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, the girls were their valets and they would get in there and chop it up sometimes, but they weren't like, it's so cool now that the female wrestlers are so awesome and their storylines are cool. And I mean, I
Now
feel
they've
like
just
Alexa
taken over,
Bliss,
yeah.
I feel like Lexi saved the whole freaking organization during the pandemic. That storyline, what else were they going to do? They couldn't wrestle, I mean, they had to have something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like her with the
I
doll
do.
on the swing and
Absolutely,
stuff?
yeah.
You know, I mean that was really cool.
Yeah, they had her paired with the Fiend and everything, and like the character work that she put on from what she was before. Everyone was like, I'm not really sure how it's gonna work, but Alexa Bliss pulled it off like
Yeah.
better than anybody thought. And even now, she kind of skirts between different kinds of character work, but everyone's just like, she could go back to doing the Fiend stuff. Like you never thought that the girl that was in the video for Alexa Bliss or the girl that started off in NXT was going to be able to pull off this like hyper scary character. And even in one of the promos, she does something, and Bray turns to the camera, Bray Wyatt, and he's like, "Shit!" Like it
Yeah.
was the coolest thing. So I agree with you. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, man. All right, so we'll go Avril Lavigne versus Lolo. Lolo,
Okay.
I'm about to tour with. So we go like the Queen up against the new up and comer pop punk princess, right?
And there's
That's good.
storyline to that too. There's very much storyline to that. Like, hey, you're the queen. You've been doing this forever, but it's my time
Exactly.
now.
That's right. See, I know what I'm doing here.
Yes, sir.
It's weird though to like, I got to be honest, it's a little bit weird to like start calling girls queen and princess. It's 2025, but we are talking wrestling and there's theater to this, right? Like this is not, don't come back on me
Of
on
course,
this
but
yet.
let's also be clear too. Avril Lavigne's one of her stage names is the pop punk queen. Pop
That's
punk,
right.
so that's what I'm referring to with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Look at us both scurrying around, John, to make sure that we're good. No, but I
Man,
think that would be good, right? That would be a good story. So far,
I'd love that.
this card is kicking butt. You
Yes,
know?
sir. We got one
All
more.
right. All right, one more. Let's go with I say like let's go like a classic pop punk thing. I'm going to go Newfound Glory versus All Time Low. They're all really tall. They're all good-looking dudes. Like that could be a really good match. All Time Low versus Newfound Glory in a what is it called if everybody's in the ring at the same time?
Oh, like a tornado, Texas tornado tag.
A
Yeah.
Texas Tornado. Kerry Von Erich.
I can get very much behind that. Funny story about Newfound Glory too. When I went to a school down in Florida, I went to school at FAU in Boca Raton, and we played at this place about 10 minutes away from there called Solid Sound Studios, where apparently it was run by, I forget which person in Newfound Glory, but it was run by like their aunt, and everyone kind of knew it, but no one ever said it until like 3 years later. They all of a sudden did like a small show there when they were revving up for tour, and like they told people like 2 hours in advance, and they still packed this like small little rehearsal studio, which is what it was, with like 300 to 400 people in like 2 hours. I was like, this is the craziest thing in the world, because she
Yeah.
never brought it up. She was never like, hey, run by the aunt of the Newfound Glory guys, right? But like everyone knew, and then within 2 hours, boom, you want a secret show? Well, here's your
Yeah.
secret show.
That's awesome. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Last question I got for you before you go. And if the other one was difficult, this one's probably a little bit harder. If you had to give 3 songs on a Spotify playlist that would represent you as a person, what would those 3 songs be?
Well, man, you're right. That is tough. 3 songs, me as a person. I would probably go, I speak a lot about mental health, and that's something that is really important to me. It became important to me late in life in that I didn't really experience depression, anxiety until I was into my 40s. And so just that whole aspect of life and sharing myself, I'm going to go with I Will Survive would be the first one that represents me. And then let's go with, I think the next one is going to be, man, this is a hard question, John. Am I the only one that is thinking too hard about it? Does everybody think about it a little bit while they're doing this?
Every person that's come on the stream has said this is the most difficult question, even more than the let's go ahead and put musicians in the ring one. Everyone's just like, man, I'm a musician, or I'm somebody that's very influenced by music. How am I supposed
Yeah.
to only choose 3?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go, you know what? I'm just going to throw caution to the wind here. I'm going to go I Will Survive. I'm going to go Suburban Home by the Descendants. And then I'm going to go, man, we'll go with, wait, hold on. I got one. It's going to be something by Frank Turner. I Still Believe by Frank Turner.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Good choice. And those are songs too that I think all embody different portions of what you've talked about. And it really shows like it shows the range of Jaret. You know, I don't know if a lot of people might just go, okay, it's going to be 3 pop punk songs or something like that. But you embody so much more. You embody so much more in the world of music, mental health, everything that you, again, have cultivated over the last X amount of time. So that's a really great list. I love that
Thanks,
list.
man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jared, it's been great talking to you about wrestling, music, everything in between on Ropes and Riffs. I thank you for your time and thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.